Hello and welcome to Political Adda, the Print's brand new political show, where every week our political team is going to be delving into one topic. We'll be giving you our insights and we'll also be taking your questions. So watch out for that every week. Send in your questions. Today we will be discussing why the RSS bothers Rahul Gandhi and the Congress so much. Now, this discussion is taking place as the Congress is on what it calls one of the largest yatras or the largest march of its kind, called the Bharat Jodo Yatra, which it has taken out about a week or so ago. And we have seen that since this yatra has begun, the Congress party and the yatra has been embroiled in controversies. And one of the biggest controversies in this time has been when the Congress put out a picture of the RSS shots on fire, and this has caused a lot of debate across the country, and which is why we are discussing this today, because we have seen that in the past many years the Congress and Rahul Gandhi have trained their guns on the RSS. First, we'll see some of the things that Rahul Gandhi has said about the RSS in the past few years, and then we'll be getting into the discussion.
विपक्ष महिलाओं की इज्जत नहीं करता है। उनके जो संगठन है, उनका जो आइडियोलॉजिकल संगठन है, उसमें महिलाओं के लिए जगह नहीं है। I fundamentally believe in your democratic country. Right? That's why I've come here. I believe that wherever this country has been successful, it has been because we have promoted people who are people.
सीधा साहब से सवाल पूछता हूं, मेन इनका संगठन आरएसएस है, कितनी महिलाएं हैं उसमें? आपने कभी देखा है? शाखा में आपने महिलाओं को देखा है? शॉप्स में कभी देखा है? मैंने तो नहीं देखा है। तो संगठन से आपको पता लग जाता है। कांग्रेस में हर लाइनअप में महिलाएं दिखती हैं, आरएसएस में आपको एक महिला नहीं दिखेगी। पता नहीं क्या किया है, क्या गलती की महिलाओं ने कि आरएसएस में नहीं घुस सकती।
The hateful ideology of the RSS and the BJP has overshadowed the loving, affectionate and nationalistic ideology of the Congress party. Our ideology is alive, it is vibrant, but it has been overshadowed.
Okay, so we saw those clips and we saw how Rahul Gandhi and the Congress have been training their guns specifically on the RSS for quite a while now. Joining us for this discussion today is the Print's political editor DK Singh and our associate editor Madhuparna, who also covers the RSS. I'm Isharita Lahiri and I cover the Congress in our political bureau. DK, I'll first like to come to you. We saw these clips where Rahul Gandhi has been constantly attacking the Congress. And yours is a generation of reporters who have seen him come into politics. So first I'd like to understand from you, is this a Rahul Gandhi phenomena? Or was the Congress in UPA 1, UPA 2, before he came into politics, was this also something that they took up with as much aggression as they're taking it up today?
Well, Isharita, I think I should better hear you first because you are the domain expert, Congress expert, RSS expert. I'll weigh in after I've heard what you have to say about this.
Okay, so from what I understand is, you know, and I was having the discussion with a secretary of the Congress party who also happens to be an MP. And this was a discussion we were having in the context of the presidential election and why Rahul Gandhi is, you know, apparently reluctant to stand. And the Congress kind of thinks of Rahul Gandhi or projects him as this ideological compass of the party. And if we see, like we saw in the clips that we played out for our viewers, that every time Rahul Gandhi talks about the RSS, he refers to the RSS as the ideological sangathan of the BJP. So Rahul Gandhi's entire idea and the idea of the Congress party or those around him is that this is an ideological game. And when I was having a conversation with the secretary, and you know, he was also one of those people in the Congress party who are trying to convince Rahul Gandhi to take up the post. And he said that, you know, when I was having this conversation with Mr. Gandhi, he said that I want to do my politics on purely ideological lines. So I don't want to say something different when there's an election in Gujarat and say something different when there's an election in West Bengal or say something different when there's an election elsewhere. So in the Congress space, in Rahul Gandhi's mind, it seems like it's an ideological war And in that ideological war, the ideological mainstay of the BJP is the RSS, so I will attack the RSS. At least that's, the sense that I got. And again, I would like your inputs on this. What do you think? Where did this start from, really? Where does this attack on the RSS start from?
Look, what we have noticed is initially he became an MP in 2004. After that, he got into the organization as General Secretary. That was in 2007. But it was not until 2013-14 that he was so aggressive against the RSS. But I'll come to that. First of the question, like why is he so much obsessed with the RSS? He's even facing court cases for allegedly defaming the RSS when he allegedly called the RSS, the killer of Mahatma Gandhi. So the cases are still on. But point is, where does he come from? So if you look at Rahul Gandhi's politics and what he says or does, he borrows his ideas and draws his ideas, inspiration, everything from his father, grandmother, great-grandfather. So if you recall, when he became General Secretary in charge of the Youth Congress in 2007, there was a lot of talk about how he wanted to dismantle the system what he called, like he hated the system. That was something his father used to talk about. Then he started talking about the youth and he started reaching out to them. If you again recall that famous comment made by Rajiv Gandhi, which is often quoted, that India is an old country but a young nation and we are impatient. So you could hear all these things coming to Rahul Gandhi's speeches. But anyway, coming to the RSS, when we talk about that inspiration. So as we know, both Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi, they were always suspicious of the RSS. So if you look at the history of the Congress, and from the beginning and look at the equations, there are many instances which we'll talk about in the course of the conversation. But coming to the first point where he draws his inspiration from, he gets his ideas from Nehru and Indira Gandhi. And we know how they felt about the RSS. Second reason could be, he has taken a very hard left turn when it comes to politics. So you're talking about, treating politics as an ideological battleground. Basically, if you look at different parties, the real ideological battle has been between the left and the right. So it's basically the RSS versus the left. Otherwise, if you look at Congress from the very beginning, it has been a kind of confluence of all ideological hues. I mean, you had rightists in the Congress, you had leftists in the Congress, you had centrists in the Congress, they were all there. So if you recall, even, say, the RSS founder, Hedgewar, he attended some AICC sessions. Then you had somebody like Madan Mohan Malviya, founder of the Hindu Mahasabha. He became Congress president. After Indira Gandhi's assassination, about a month before the elections, Nanaji Deshmukh, he wrote an article in one of the Hindi publications where he asked people to give their blessings to Rajiv Gandhi, although BJP was already there. If you recall, Sardar Patel, in 48 when RSS was banned, Sardar Patel had in fact invited Golwalkar, he was second RSS chief. He had invited him to merge the RSS with the Congress. Or that time, Golwalkar also wanted to work with the Congress, saying that, you are a political outfit, we are a cultural outfit, we don't have to fight, we can carry on. Right what turn I'm talking about, that how things have changed. So even if his grandmother, great-grandfather did not like the RSS, so this has been happening. Then today you see Jairam Ramesh, his statement, when he's saying that he's talking about Bharat Jodo Yatra, it's for about 3,100 kilometers. He says it's the biggest march by any political party today. And then he says that earlier it was by Mao Zedong. Now this reference is a bit interesting because Mao Zedong, he is probably talking about that long march, famous long march, which established Zedong as the unquestioned leader of the Communist Party of China. So I don't know what he meant. And that long march again, if you look at that, they were under attack, the Communist army, Red Army then, it was under attack by the Chinese Nationalist Army. So from southern China, they were trying to shift away. They were running away, in fact, escaping, and they escaped to north and northwest. and then again rebuild their base and strengthen themselves, whatever. All these things happened. But look at the symbolism. You are bringing Mao Zedong's Long March into this discussion. Look at the context. They're celebrating their leftist turn. They want you to see how they have turned to the left. And Rahul has made it an ideological battle that way. RSS is my principal adversary ideologically.
And Madhuparna, I'd actually like to bring you in on this point. As DK said, that the RSS is, of course, the ideological, the ideological North Star of the BJP, we can say. But also what is important is that they are bringing in leaders into the BJP who have much more connect on the ground. They have the infrastructure, they have the political infrastructure to ensure that this ideology is spread in a way which the Congress is not being able to compete with. Which is why we have seen even in election rallies, for example, Rahul Gandhi is constantly training his guns on the RSS. Earlier, for example, in 2014, he used to talk about RSS and women empowerment. Then it became about RSS infiltrating all institutions. In fact, even last year, when Congress came up with its Hindu versus Hindutvawadi campaign, that was also a direct attack on the RSS. So I want to understand from you that how does the RSS look at this? So here on one hand, we have Rahul Gandhi, who is very clear that RSS is our number one enemy. What is the RSS perspective on this? How do they see Rahul Gandhi? And also publicly, how do they, approach this attack that is being done on them?
And just to add to that question, giving the context, only recently, I think 2-3 days back, Manmohan Vaidya, probably for the first time, the RSS came out openly attacking Rahul Gandhi by name. RSS does not target politicians by name, and RSS has always maintained that it's not in politics. It has nothing to do with any political party. Exactly. So in fact, in 2018, when Mohan Bhagwat was having an interaction with all of us, somebody asked the question that, you have this general secretary organizations post in the RSS, so you're saying you have nothing to do with politics. He said, well, if any other party wants our help, we are ready to supply those general secretaries to them also. So they have been maintaining actually publicly that we have nothing to do with politics. And then Manmohan Vaidya comes out and says that not just Rahul Gandhi, but also his Dada Pardada. Like, they always hated the RSS. So this open confrontation, it's quite unusual.
So RSS is also kind of, I was talking to some of the RSS senior functionaries, so I was just trying to understand what they think about it and how do they look at it. So apparently they are also analyzing this Rahul Gandhi speeches. So and according to their own analysis of his speeches, they think that Rahul Gandhi is primarily insecure and insecure of RSS because, as you said, that he has always this idea that this is an ideological battle. And inside RSS, so they think that this new leader that Congress has, they always call him immature, young, new, doesn't understand. So when Manmohan Vaidya started talking about this recent attack, this khaki shorts on fire, so he said, बताओ हमारा तो कब चेंज हो गया है, हम तो फुल पैंट पे आ गए हैं, इनको ये भी नहीं पता, तो फिर इनके बारे में क्या बात करें. Then we started questioning him and then he said इनके तो दादा परदादा भी हम लोगों को हमेशा से ही नफरत की आंखों में देखे हैं, they always hated us. And भारत जोड़ो अगर आप कर रहे हैं तो भारत कोई भी जोड़े भारत को, हम तो हमेशा से ही सपोर्ट करते हैं उनको, लेकिन ये हेट्रेड से कैसे स्टार्ट होता है. So this is the context. They always think about him that this person doesn't understand Sangha, this person doesn't have any idea of RSS. So they think that some of them, they are quite sympathetic to Rahul Gandhi when they say that, okay, this kid, quote unquote, this kid has seen a lot of violence and his family members, like his father, his grandmother, they were killed in extreme political violence. So he apparently looks at RSS as a static body and not as a spectrum of Hindutva. Now, RSS people, RSS functionaries will always tell you that the kind of Hindutva they talk about, it has nothing to do with religion. It's about the Hindu way of like Hindustan, Hindu way of living life, कैसे हम लोग सब साथ रहते हैं. And apparently Rahul Gandhi doesn't understand all this. तो उन लोगों ने काफ़ी एनालिसिस किया कि क्यों बोलते हैं ऐसा. सो अकॉर्डिंग टू देम, एक तो ये है कि उनको समझ नहीं है, फिर उनको लगता है कि बीजेपी को कहाँ से अटैक करे, क्या करे, तो आरएसएस के बारे में ये हमेशा बोलते रहे हैं. क्योंकि आरएसएस हैज़ दिस ग्राउंड लेवल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. सिंस सर ऑल्सो सेड दैट आरएसएस इज़ नॉट एसेंशियली अ पॉलिटिकल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, काइंड ऑफ शाखास दे डू. अभी उनका जो लास्ट समन्वय बैठक हुआ था, 60,000 शाखास दे एक्चुअली ऑर्गेनाइज अक्रॉस स्टेट्स इन द कंट्री. सो ये जो रीच है, दिस सोशल रीच.
One more thing that I'd like to point out, because this is what some of our readers and viewers commented when we said that we'd be carrying out a discussion. Yeah, that during disasters or floods, you see the RSS out on the ground.
So that's what I was coming. So इनको RSS वालों को लगता है, मतलब सीनियर जो फंक्शनरीज हैं उन लोगों को लगता है कि कांग्रेस का वैसा ग्राउंड लेवल कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है ही नहीं. तो अपेरेंटली राहुल गांधी इज इनसिक्योर ऑफ दैट ग्राउंड रूटेड दैट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो दैट RSS एक्चुअली हैज़, कि वो जो ग्राउंड लेवल जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इनका बन चुका है अभी, तो इसको कभी कांग्रेस नहीं बीट कर पाएगी. एंड देन कांग्रेस इज़ अ नेशनल पार्टी. सो ऑफ कोर्स अगर आपको पॉलिटिकली फाइट करना है बीजेपी को, जो आप इलेक्टोरली नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, तो you have this thought process कि जहाँ पे बीजेपी के जितने भी सीनियर लीडर्स हैं वो RSS से आए हैं, प्रधानमंत्री जी RSS से आए हैं सब, तो उसको फिर हिट करो. लेकिन इनको RSS को लगता है कि प्राइमरीली द फाउंडेशन, दैट अंडरस्टैंडिंग इज प्राइमरीली रॉन्ग, एंड दे थिंक कि आप पॉलिटिकली फाइट कर लो, लेकिन ये आप अगर RSS को ऐसे अटैक कर रहे हैं तो ये शायद आप किसी को कोई मैसेज देना चाहते हैं. एंड देन किसको मैसेज देना चाहते हैं? देन कम्स द मुस्लिम्स एलिमेंट्स इनटू इट. क्योंकि इनको लग रहा है कि अगर आप ये बार बार बोल रहे हैं, हर बार बोल रहे हैं, आपको तो कायदे से बीजेपी को अटैक करना चाहिए, विच यू आर नॉट डूइंग. यू आर अटैकिंग an organization which is purely ideological in nature, which may train people, and RSS functionaries will always tell you that we build characters. But Congress or many other opposition parties, they say that they brainwash people. So this is the difference. They say कि हम लोग तो चरित्र निर्माण करते हैं, और ये लोग बोलते हैं कि हम लोग ब्रेन वॉश करते हैं. ऐसा नहीं है. सो दीज आर द प्राइमरी थिंग्स. तो इन लोगों को लगता है कि ये जो आप देश को जो तोड़ रहे हैं, ये हिंदुत्व को आप बोलते हैं कि रिलीजन बेस्ड है, तो आपको मुस्लिम्स को वो करना है, इसलिए आपको लगता है कि अगर RSS को अटैक करे तो मुस्लिम जो वोट बैंक है आपको, उनको लगेगा कि हम लोग.
No, but again, what I wanted to bring in here is that from the Congress perspective is that confused messaging to the electorate. Because the BJP here is very clear. RSS is an ideological organization. The BJP is a political machinery. So that divide is very clear. But here we have the Congress party ostensibly saying that we are fighting an ideological war, and we will not bend that ideology to suit state elections or to suit elections.
Just one correction. It's not the Congress party, it's Rahul Gandhi.
No, and there's a very clear divide in the Congress right now, where there are a section of people who are saying that we have to look at our election machinery. We have to look at each election, and we have to go on the ground and try to win this election. But then there's this Rahul Gandhi perspective that I'm not going to change my ideology when I'm in Gujarat. I'm not going to change it when I'm in West Bengal. I'm not going to change it when I'm in Kerala. So what is happening in the midst, at least from my understanding, is that for the electorate, it's very confused messaging, right? So you don't know. At one hand, you're saying we want to win elections. Then you're not doing what is required to win elections. Then you're saying ideologically I'm fighting this battle. But you are conflating the RSS and the BJP together. So at the end, it's a very, very kind of confused messaging that's going on.
Rahul Gandhi gives them, like, some functionaries also think that Rahul Gandhi is, one of the best suited politician for them. लेकिन राहुल गांधी जी जितना हम लोगों को पब्लिसिटी देते हैं, हर बार हमारा नाम बोलते हैं, हमारा अच्छा ही है, बोले, लोगों को और जानने का मन करेगा. People will do some research, people will talk to people, talk to politicians, talk to maybe संघ के जो लोग हैं उनसे बात करेंगे कि क्या है. तो जितना ये बोलेंगे हमारा रीच जो है उतना ही बढ़ेगा.
So RSS thinks Rahul Gandhi is helping
helping the RSS grow.
And RSS by reacting is helping Rahul Gandhi establish himself.
No, so there's just like this one thing I want to delve on before we move into our audience questions, which is that how will all of this play out electorally, because we are political journalists, हमें बस election से मतलब है और कौन जीत रहा है कौन हार रहा है उससे मतलब है.
Very sublime objectives like an ideological battle. I mean, elections, politics, they are not so important things.
Okay, so we'll take some audience questions now. So there's Aditya who sent in 2 questions. He's asking, do you think attacking the RSS is a kind of counter-attack adopted by the Congress against BJP's allegations of dynasty and politics? Now that's something we have been discussing. And again, as I just said, the BJP's attack is purely on the Congress party. It is on the Gandhi family. It is on their allegations of corruption. And they have been consistent with that line for a very long time. Whereas the Congress's messaging, on the other hand, they are attacking the BJP ideologically, but they're not attacking the BJP politically. So then they're not sure of their strategy in terms of electorally to defeat BJP. What should we attack them on? And that is something that is not playing to the Congress's advantage, as we have seen in many states electorally. The next question Aditya is asking is why Rahul Gandhi is spending so much time in southern states as compared to north areas. Is it because RSS and BJP has less reach and appeal in southern states as compared to Hindi heartland? The understanding that I got from the Congress on this is, first they keep talking about the geography of it. So they said that we have to go from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, so it has to be a straight line. We saw 5 routes, and then we made sure we took the route where there was no water body in the middle, so we don't have to take a boat and we don't have to take a car and all of that. So first there's the geography of it, which can or cannot be argued, and the logistics of it, which can or cannot be argued. The other thing that the party is saying is that they are focusing on consolidating the South, which has been their traditional vote bank, in the sense that out of the 53 MPs that they have in Lok Sabha now, 24 are from the southern states. So the party, from what they said, and this is something that Prashant Kishore had also suggested, that work where you are strong, where you have an organizational base, and try to rein those in and leave the other places where there is a strong opposition against the BJP, which is not the Congress. Let the regional parties or those opposition parties take on the BJP in those areas. Now, the question that has been asked is, again, why are we not going to Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, which the Congress has, I would say amusingly responded that, it will take 90 days for us to work from Kanyakumari to Gujarat. By then elections would be over. We have discussed that also. Then probably we should have started from Kashmir and gone to Gujarat first. And the second thing that the party is saying is that, when we are spending time in Uttar Pradesh, and internally, for example, they are saying that, अगर Rahul Gandhi आज जाके 30 दिन भी उत्तर प्रदेश में बैठ जाते हैं, so what is the gain that we'll get? We have 2 MLAs in that state. So that is something that they are looking at. That's why they are spending more time in the south. And as the yatra is going up, they are spending a considerable amount of time in Madhya Pradesh also, and Rajasthan also. But they're spending, say, 5 days in Punjab and like that. So as the yatra is going up, they are spending less days there. But the party has 2 arguments to it. First is the logistics, and second is that we are actively working to consolidate the areas where we already have a base, where we already have a strong organization.
I have another point of view here. What's happening is you're getting into states where you are strong organizationally because of state leaders or because of the fact that the party infrastructure is still there. So, for instance, in Kerala, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh.
Rajasthan.
So when Rahul Gandhi goes there, you have a lot of crowd, you have a lot of buzz, people are there, and he is seen as the leader. So this entire Bharat Jodo Yatra is nothing but Bharat, it's all about Rahul Gandhi, his projection. And so he is going to only spending considerable amount of time in those states where the party infrastructure is still there. so that his popularity, the crowds, all these things could be shown. I'm sorry, I'm probably
no. That's
I'm
an
probably
important
sounding a bit cynical here. But there is no reason, even if you are going to consolidate your thing in Kerala, why do you start from Kerala? I mean,
Then one more
UP,
thing,
are you
don't you
abandoning
think
UP? Are you abandoning UP? 5 days in UP, 18 days in Kerala. How do you justify that?
So don't you think it's about the conflict also? Like in Kerala, in Rajasthan, in MP, in all these places, there is at least a scope of conflict. But in Gujarat, there is just no scope. I mean, in Bengal, in Bengal, BJP
No, but
is
that's
not.
exactly what they're saying about UP, right?
Yeah,
we have
so
2
UP.
MLAs there. Even if I go sit there for
There
15
is no
days, what will I
scope.
gain?
So you do not give up.
You mentioned about this, the Yatra not being about Bharat Jodo, about being Rahul Gandhi. That's a very important point, because this is taking place when the presidential elections are due. So the nomination of that is supposed to start on the 24th of September, by which they would have already, they would have been done with Kerala, and they would have just probably been entering Karnataka. So you're starting the Yatra on a high. You have Rahul Gandhi in the center. You are saying he's not the leader, but he's, for all practical purposes, everything about the Yatra. And we know for a fact that the Congress ecosystem, at least a part of the ecosystem, is still trying to convince him to, take up the presidential mantle. So that begs the question that right now, what are you trying to do? Is it really about Bharat Jodo, or is it really about getting Rahul Gandhi back onto the helm of the Congress? Is it about building brand Rahul? I remember a G23 leader commented on this. I was talking to him privately. He said that this is a branding exercise for a bombed brand. So what is it? Like, you have to be clear in your head what the aim of the Yatra is, which it is. I mean, of course, there are very nice pictures of Rahul Gandhi hugging older women and Rahul Gandhi, with kids and all of this, and that's very nice.
Nice t-shirt.
A nice t-shirt.
Then it always
But what is the
comes
end
to
game?
like his push-ups and his t-shirts.
No, but what is the end game? Is it an electoral is it something that you want to achieve electorally? In which case, why are you not going to Gujarat? Is it about Rahul Gandhi? In which case, say that I'm leading the Yatra. And if it's not, then we hope that there's a new Congress president who's coming in. Why is the party not spending its resources establishing that person as the party's leader? So these are questions that the Congress needs to answer. So actually, in this, you've also answered a question that Aman Shukla has sent, which is, why are we not seeing the BJP and the RSS attack Rahul Gandhi as aggressively as they should do? So
BJP does.
Yeah, but
RSS doesn't.
The next question is from Sachin, who's saying that organizationally, who is more powerful, RSS or BJP? How much does the RSS interfere in BJP? As we know, UP CM Yogi Adityanath is recommended by RSS.
So, who has sent this question
This
again?
is by Sachin.
Okay. So, Sachin ji, see, as I said that RSS Sangha always claims that they build characters. So, आपको इसको उस एंगल से देखना है. So, RSS is of course powerful. They influence a lot. और अगर आपकी देश की प्राइम मिनिस्टर जो हैं वो अगर वहाँ से ग्रूम होके आए हैं, तो आप समझ सकते हैं कि कहाँ से पावर आता है और कौन सी थॉट प्रोसेस चल रहा है. सो this is a very complex question that way, but answer is this simple. मतलब आपको देखना है कि कौन सारे politicians जो हैं, जो top rank politicians हैं, उनका वो आ कहाँ से रहे हैं, from where they are coming. I mean, their ideas, their thought process, kind of policies they take. So उसका जो है, उसका origin कहाँ है. तो ये अगर आप समझ जाइएगा तो आपको फिर समझ में आ जाएगा कि कौन सी organization is more powerful, RSS or BJP? BJP is just a political front.
Okay, so
Right now, I'll just add there. Right now, it's not about which one is wielding more influence. So when you have Modi as the Prime Minister, he essentially represents all those ideas. He knows those ideas. He knows what RSS wants, what RSS is, what he stands for. Everything Modi does reflects RSS ideals, everything that RSS believes in. Where RSS is having a say is in cultural matters, in educational matters. So the core agenda, there the government is constantly in touch with RSS. RSS ministers also invite RSS people, consult them your education minister, your culture minister. RSS is not interested beyond these sectors in influencing the policy.
So we have one final question for you, DK, from Shikunj Pawar. He's saying, hello, DK sir. Much is being talked about Rahul Gandhi's Yatra, but my question is, what do you think about BJP's game plan for countering it, and also BJP's 2024 strategy considering the humongous task given to the cabinet ministers? Is it coherent, or is BJP in a confused state about any of this? All the best for the new series. Looking forward to hearing back from you.
Oh no, BJP has no issues, and all these things, whatever we have discussed, is not troubling the BJP at all. BJP is rather happy.
No, but they are responding to the Bharat Jodo Yatra. They are reacting to it.
Not really, because they will keep doing that. And BJP, as all of us know, BJP will be happy if Rahul comes back as the Congress president. And they want this ideological debate to go on. Let me give you an example. Long back, I think about 15, 16 years back, I was in Banswara district of Rajasthan. And I was traveling with an RSS pracharak. He was taking me to one of the schools run by the RSS, 70 kilometers away from Banswara district headquarters. I was in his jeep. It took us 8 hours to reach that school. Not because the roads were bad, but because the pracharak who was with me, every 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, he'll stop by. Some boys will be playing cricket. He would go there, they would know him. He'll play cricket for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then come back. Again, he'll stop the jeep, say 2 kilometers away from there. Somebody is coming. Pranam, this, that. Okay, so your daughter was getting married. Did our people reach there or not? How is she? Then going to another house, sitting there, having tea. The kind of interaction, the connect they have at the grassroots, the RSS, that is the biggest strength of the BJP too. Because the RSS connect on the ground helps them a lot.
And in many ways, that is also the Congress's biggest drawback.
So by attacking the RSS, what is the Congress gaining? Because you have to fight them on the ground. If you have issues with their ideological stance or what they represent ideologically, go and fight there. Propagate your own counter ideology to the people, whatever you believe in.
And at that level, at the grassroots level.
Go to the grassroots. So if you look at 2024, if this is how the Congress is going to carry out its politics, I won't even like to make any guess.
All right, we'll wrap up the show on that note. Even though the Bharat Jodo Yatra, the Congress is saying that this is what we're trying to beat. We're on the ground, 3,500 kilometers. But yeah, that was the first episode of Political Adda. A lot of Adda that we engaged in. I hope you enjoyed it. And every week we will be bringing you one episode of this show where our political team will be delving into one political topic and giving you all our insights. Please do keep sending in your questions. We'd love to answer them, and please keep watching this show. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for watching.